Morning, this is John from FlatCatGear. So earlier this week, I went up to my parents' house in San Francisco Bay Area, and it's a great time of year. Up in the Bay Area, they have wild blackberries all over the place. So I picked a whole bunch of blackberries, brought them down this morning. I'm making some blackberry muffins for my daughters. So I got a blackberry muffin mix. I'm going to add it to it, and I'm going to make one in the snow leopard and one on the bobcat. I also want to talk a little bit this morning about our baking philosophy. Actually, our whole philosophy in FlatCatGear is to make systems that are easy to use. So I want to talk a little bit this morning about our design philosophy at FlatCatGear. What it really comes down to is we're trying to make our gear and our cooking methodologies pretty easy to use. So you don't have to think that much, you don't have to interact with it that much. Once you get things set up, it's pretty reliable. So what we found in our experiences with baking is there's a lot of ways to do baking. The first thing is to be safe, and so we keep our temperatures low to not to distort particularly titanium pans. The second thing that we found, and we think is an advantage, is by cooking at a low rate, you end up having a lot more, there's less risk. You have a lot more tolerance that you don't burn things, and so we kind of like that. And that's really what our design philosophy is about. You don't have to fuss with these stoves, that once you get it set up, you really just let it go. Now, our baking times are a bit longer than other people's, but you don't interact with the, once you set it up, you're good to go. So when I go backpacking and I do baking, typically I find a nice spot, like a creek or a river, and while it's baking, the normal task I have to do anyway. So I will go filter water. Sometimes Peggy and I, we always bring cards with us. We're not ultralight backpackers, and we'll play a couple games with us, or a couple rounds of cards. And so it's not really that much downtime to us. And we realize baking's not for everyone. Baking really is a luxury. And so we make the time. We may not hike 15, 20 miles a day. We take a little extra time to hike a little bit less and cook a little bit more. And that's kind of our philosophy. It's not for everyone. Baking's not for everyone, and certainly the way we bake may not be perfect for everyone either. But that's really our design philosophy. Make it simple, make it easy to use, and make it work. A good example, here's a photograph I'm going to show you. This is one of those stories that make me really feel good about what we're doing. A customer ordered 2 stoves from us, and one of the stoves that they ordered was an Epicurean titanium stove. They did not order a bobcat system. They did not order a snow leopard system. They had their own system that they wanted to use. And later, they received the package in the morning, and later in the day I got this picture. And their first attempt at making a biscuit came out fine. And so that's one of the things that we really were thrilled about, is that we have systems that are versatile. It'll work in other systems, and they really don't take that much effort to do. All right, so let's go out and bake these guys. The biscuit, one blackberry buff biscuit. It's going to be cooked in the snow leopard. And I'm using the Epicurean titanium. The bigger one, I'm going to cook on the FlatCat standard stove with a bacon simmering. So we got 2 different baking methods. I do want to talk about a little bit. Our preferred method is using the titanium Epicurean, and the reason is because it's Esbit and the way solid fuels work, I can keep the pot low, so the pot is protected just as if it were using an alcohol stove. Everything's down low and such. When you use the bacon simmering on a FlatCat stove, you can see that the pot's elevated. That means that the flame is more susceptible to winds. What winds do is winds typically increase the burn rate. It cools off your pot, but the alcohol burns faster. So you have to be careful. This is really a fair weather baking system. So one of the things that came up in conversation was, okay, fine, you do all this baking, you know, on my barbecue grill on my deck, you know, how's it do out in the real world? Well, some interesting aspects about that. Number one, my deck is 2 floors up, and so I get hit by the winds all the time. So usually when I'm doing my testing even at home, it's usually pretty breezy out. Second thing is we've taken both these systems on the trail. If you look at my past videos, you can see we did dry baking a cookie in Sequoia National Park. We were probably up at 6,000 feet, and it was snowing. It was really, you know, freezing temperatures. That's also when we use the FlatCat hat. The FlatCat hat in the cold temperatures will keep this, you know, about 5 degrees warmer or so. We've also did testing recently in Yosemite. We were up at 9,000 feet. It was probably blowing maybe 5-10 miles an hour. I mean, it was windy enough that it destroyed the audio pickup on my camera. So it was pretty windy. So we not only do testing here, you know, at my house and, you know, on my patio and stuff, but we take them out in the field, and so far they've been performing pretty great. I've only had to use one Esbit for baking. Alcohol, you know, we'll have to with the FlatCat simmer ring, it'll only hold about an ounce, so you know you will have to refill that one if you're baking large items. But out in the field, it's been working great, and the reason it works great is because we spent a lot of time and effort designing these windscreens for both the snow leopard and the bobcat. And really the key is you've got to have with all stoves, you have to have a good windscreen, and that's where both these products really do well. And that's also why. Turns out I overfilled both of them just a little bit. The SP700, it hit the top. Good as new. Come on. Yeah, probably could lose a little more cooking. Once it hits the top, it tends to not cook. Yeah, but the rest of it, inside's all done. Also, blueberry muffin, dig in.
Is there blackberries in here?
Blackberries. Wild blackberries.
I thought it was blueberries.
No, blackberries.